Hello everyone. We live in a world full of strategic reports that sit on executive shelves, never turning into reality. I call this the execution gap, the chasm between knowing what to do and actually doing it, which often becomes the graveyard of digital transformation. In this upcoming podcast episode, I want to take you beyond mere diagnosis and introduce you to the Digital Development Roadmap, DRD. Unlike other models that act merely as a conscience or a ruler, DRD is the shovel designed for companies that are done with theory and ready to dig. Join me as we discuss the Simulate-then-Procure philosophy, why you should never buy a machine until you have seen it work in a virtual environment. The digital twin advantage, how to test robots, speeds and layouts to prove ROI before spending a single cent on hardware. Democratization, how small family-owned factories can access the same strategic tools used by automotive giants. If you are a factory owner constantly asking, will it work? And am I paying too much? This methodology was built to remove those fears. It is time to stop guessing and start simulating. Tune in to learn how to bridge the gap between strategy and robotization.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've got a stack of research today that I think is going to hit a little too close to home for anyone running a business or, honestly, anyone who's tried to manage a project that just wouldn't get off the ground. We're looking at the graveyard of digital transformation.
It's a pretty crowded graveyard.
It really is. I was reading through this report, and it paints this vivid picture of the CEO's office. You know the one. There's a shelf just groaning under the weight of these glossy binders. Strategy 2020, Vision 2025.
Right.
That cost a fortune, consultants were flown in, meetings were had, and now they're just, expensive coasters.
Exactly. The industry calls that the execution gap. It's that huge, frustrating chasm between knowing you need to modernize, you need to automate, and actually finally getting a working robot on your shop floor.
And the research we're looking at argues that for small and medium enterprises, the SMEs, this gap, it's not about laziness. It's about fear.
Oh, absolutely. It's legitimate fear. Look, if you're a massive multinational and you buy a $200,000 robotic cell that doesn't quite work, it's a rounding error, you write it off, maybe a middle manager gets fired and move on.
But if you're a family-owned business...
If you're a family-owned manufacturer and you make that same mistake, that could be it. You could be out of business.
So the paralysis, it makes sense. You're standing on the edge of a cliff. You know you have to jump to keep up. But you can't really see the landing.
Precisely. And that brings us to the methodology we're unpacking today. It's called the Digital Development Roadmap, or DRD for short. And its core promise is fascinating because it doesn't pitch itself as an innovation tool. It pitches itself as an investment de-risking tool.
That's a very different vibe from the usual, disrupt everything tech talk. So, okay, let's unpack this. At a high level, how does DRD claim to bridge this execution gap?
It completely flips the script on how we buy technology. The traditional model is something like assess, guess, procure, and then pray.
Pray, I like that.
You assess the problem, you take a guess at a solution, you buy the machine, and you just pray it works. DRD changes that. The mantra is simulate-then-procure.
Simulate-then-procure. Okay, it sounds logical, but I have to push back a little. Every consultant I've ever met has some kind of roadmap. How is this not just another binder for that shelf we were talking about?
And that's the right question to ask. The difference is the output. It's granular. Most frameworks like ADMA or CRI, which are great, by the way, are fantastic diagnostic tools. They're like a doctor giving you a checkup. Your cholesterol is high, you need to exercise. But they don't tell you which gym to join or, show you how to lift the weights.
Right, they give you the what, but not the how.
DRD is the surgeon. It's obsessively focused on implementation. It takes you from, I think we might need a robot, all the way to, I have seen this specific robot in this layout perform this task in a physics-based simulation, and I know its exact cycle time.
Okay, that's a bold claim. Physics-based simulation sounds expensive and complicated. We'll get to that. But let's break down the process. It's 4 steps. And step 1, oddly, doesn't seem to involve the factory floor at all.
No, it doesn't. Step 1 is what they call the megatrend scanner.
Which, I'll be honest, sounds a bit like a buzzword generator. If my assembly line is bottlenecking today, why do I care about global megatrends? I need to fix my problem now.
And that's the trap. That's the trap most SMEs fall right into. They fix today's problem with yesterday's technology. The Megatrend Scanner, it uses AI algorithms to scan global industrial data patterns, research market adoption rates to figure out where the industry is going, not where it's been.
So it stops you from building a factory for 2020 when we're already heading into 2030.
Precisely. And it does something very important. It categorizes technologies into two buckets, commoditized and experimental. If you're a small business, you want commoditized tech. You want the stuff that is proven, it's cheap, it's reliable. You do not want to be the guinea pig for experimental tech.
That's a huge distinction. I feel like a lot of business owners get sold experimental tech by slick salespeople, and then they just end up being unpaid beta testers.
And beta testing in a factory is just downtime. The scanner acts as a filter. It says, okay, autonomous mobile robots, AMRs, they're commoditized now, you can trust them. But humanoid robots, still experimental. Maybe stay away for now.
So it aligns your local strategy with the global reality. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we scan the horizon, we know what's safe to buy. Now we look inside. Step 2 is digital maturity and gap analysis, which again sounds like standard consulting.
It's similar, but there's a key difference. The DRD applies what they call a feasibility lens.
A feasibility lens.
Think about it like this. A normal audit might find, 50 things wrong with your plant. Lighting is bad. ERP is slow. That conveyor is too loud. It's overwhelming. The feasibility lens filters all that noise to find what they call investable gaps.
And what makes a gap investable?
It's the intersection of three things. 1, it's a clear pain point for the business. 2, there's a commoditized technology that can solve it. And 3, this is the critical part, it has a positive ROI.
So it just ignores the problems that are annoying, but not profitable to fix.
Exactly. Engineers, we love to solve the hardest problem. Business owners need to solve the most profitable problem. This step forces that discipline. It says, forget the complex custom machine for a minute. Look at this packaging line. If we put a standard robot arm here, it pays for itself in 18 months. Do that first.
It's prioritizing cash flow over the cool factor. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, but now we get to the part that I think is the real meat of this. Step 3, the digital twin.
This is the game changer. This is where we leave the binder on the shelf territory and enter the real simulation space.
And I want to be clear about what we mean by digital twin here, because I've seen marketing decks where a digital twin is just a pretty 3D render. It looks nice, but it's a cartoon.
Right, that's a visual twin. It's basically useless for real engineering. The DRD uses a physics-based twin, meaning the software engine simulates the actual laws of physics. Gravity, friction, mass, inertia, all of it. If you put a virtual robot arm in there and tell it to pick up a virtual 50-kilo box, and the arm isn't rated for that, the simulation will show it failing.
Wait, it'll actually drop the box?
Or the motors will stall, or the whole thing will tip over. It simulates collisions. If the robot's path makes it swing around and hit a support pillar, you see that happen right there in the software.
Okay, that is a whole different ballgame from a drawing.
Yeah.
You are literally stress testing the factory before you've even ordered the steel.
You're validating the logic. Think about cycle times. A salesperson might tell you, oh yeah, this robot can do 10 picks per minute, but in your factory, with your layout, maybe it has to reach awkwardly around a safety fence. The simulation calculates all the kinematics, and it tells you, actually, in this setup, you're only getting 7 picks per minute.
And realizing that in the software saves you
Wait, what?
tens of thousands of dollars.
It saves you the entire project. If you need 10 picks a minute to break even and the simulation shows you'll only get 7, you don't buy the robot. You just saved $100,000 and a year of headaches by failing virtually.
Failing virtually is free. That's a powerful idea. It reminds me of how aerospace companies design planes. They don't just build a 747 and see if it flies.
Of course not. They fly it in a simulator millions of times first. Manufacturing is finally catching up. It's moving from hope to proof. You aren't crossing your fingers. You're looking at real data.
So, okay, let's say the simulation works. We've tweaked the layout. We've got the right robot. The cycle time is perfect. We have a validated digital twin. Now we go to step 4, the marketplace connection. This seems to tackle the actual buying process.
This resolves the procure nightmare.
Is it really a nightmare?
Oh, absolutely. Ask any factory manager about the RFP process, the request for proposal. You write up a document describing what you want. I need a system to palletize boxes. You send it to 5 different system integrators.
And what do you get back?
Chaos. You get chaos. Integrator A quotes you $50,000 for a really basic solution. Integrator B quotes $200,000 for a Ferrari. and integrator C completely misunderstands what you need. You can't compare them because they're all bidding on their interpretation of your vague text.
The classic apples to oranges problem.
Exactly. And on top of that, they all pad their prices. They add a risk premium because they know that when they get on site, things will be different than you describe. They're protecting themselves from your vague description.
So how does the DRD fix this?
Simple. In the DRD model, the validated digital twin is the RFP. You don't send a text document. You upload the simulation file to this platform, the DBR77 marketplace.
So the integrators are all looking at the exact same 3D simulation.
Yes. They see the exact robot, the exact speed, the exact layout. There's no guessing. They are bidding on a known quantity. I can build that specific simulation for X dollars.
That changes the dynamic completely. It forces an apples-to-apples comparison.
It creates what they call price discovery. Because the ambiguity is gone, the risk premium vanishes. The integrators know exactly what they are building so they can bid more aggressively. It creates a real market.
It almost commoditizes the integration service itself.
It does. It shifts power from the seller, who usually has all the technical knowledge, to the buyer, who now has the validated proof of what they need.
I'm looking at this comparison table from the source material, and it's pretty stark. The validation row really jumps out at me.
What does it say?
For the traditional method, under validation, it literally just says, fingers crossed.
It's funny because it's true. In the old way, you don't actually know if it's going to work until you turn the key on the factory floor.
And for the DRD method, it says logic tested.
And that's the whole shift. You go from fingers crossed to logic tested. You go from high risk of change orders to low risk because you found the collision in the software, not with a welding torch after the fact.
Okay, I have to play the skeptic for a second. This sounds incredible, almost too good. There has to be a catch. My immediate thought: cost and complexity. Running a physics-based simulation with inverse kinematics. I mean, that sounds like I need a team of PhDs and a supercomputer.
That's the number one objection, absolutely. Simulation is slow and expensive. And you know what? 5 or 10 years ago, you would have been right. It was NASA-level stuff.
Oh, it changed.
Standardization. And a drag-and-drop approach. The DBR77 platform, it has these huge libraries of pre-built modules. You don't code a conveyor belt. You drag a conveyor block into the scene. You drag a pallet block. You drag a Universal Robots UR10 block.
So it's like digital Legos for a factory.
That's the perfect way to put it. It democratizes the technology. A process engineer can build a pretty good simulation in just a few hours. It doesn't need to look like a Pixar movie. It just needs to be physically accurate.
So you don't need a perfect CAD file of your entire building to get started.
No, and that's another common blocker people have. I don't have 3D blueprints. It doesn't matter. Just draw a box, call it a wall, and give it the property of being solid. That's all the physics engine needs to know. Don't let the robot hit this.
Function over form.
Always. And on the cost, the source makes a really strong ROI argument. Even if the simulation costs a few $1,000s in software or an engineer's time, just compare that to the cost of one physical mistake.
Fixing a robot that's bolted to the concrete in the wrong spot? That's got to be expensive.
It's tens of thousands of dollars, easily. The simulation is just an insurance policy against that.
What about the other risk, the ecosystem risk? This marketplace idea, it relies on there actually being good integrators on the other side, right?
That's a valid concern. It is a bit of a walled garden. If you use the DBR77 tool, you are sort of funneled into their marketplace. If there are no integrators in your region on that platform, then the procure step gets harder.
So you lose the automated bidding magic.
You might. But you still have the validated simulation. You can still take that video file to a local vendor and say, build this, which is still a massive upgrade from a napkin sketch.
True. Build this is a lot clearer than build something cool for me.
Exactly.
I want to zoom out for a second. We've talked about a lot of acronyms on this show. ADMA, SARI. How does DRD fit into that landscape? Is it trying to replace them?
No, not at all. It complements them. The source uses a really good metaphor for this. Think of ADMA, which focuses on the human and social side of automation, as the conscience. It tells you why you should modernize responsibly.
Okay, the conscience. And SIRI.
SIRI is the ruler.
Right.
It measures your current state. It gives you a score.
Okay.
You are a level 2 in connectivity. It's a benchmark.
So if ADMA is the conscience and SIRI is the ruler, where does DRD fit in?
DRD is the shovel.
The shovel.
It's the tool for doers. It's not for philosophizing. It's not for measuring. It's for digging. It's for when you're done with the committees and the reports and you're just ready to break ground.
That really resonates. So many companies get stuck in analysis paralysis. They keep measuring and assessing because it feels like work, but they never actually do anything.
Because doing is risky. Measuring feels safe. DRD is all about making doing safer by moving the risk into the virtual world first.
So if there's a listener out there, maybe they run a machine shop or a packaging facility, and they are staring at that execution gap, what's the one takeaway?
It's simple. Stop buying technology off brochures. If a vendor comes to you with a shiny PDF and promises the world, your first question should be, can you show me the simulation file?
And if they can't simulate it?
Then don't buy it. If you can't make it work in a computer where mistakes are free, you will absolutely struggle to make it work on your shop floor where mistakes cost you your entire margin.
It's about demanding proof, not promises.
It's about de-risking your investment. It turns a gamble into a calculated, informed decision.
You know, as we wrap this up, I'm thinking about how this applies beyond just factories. This whole idea of simulate, then execute.
It's really a life philosophy, isn't it?
It is. How many times in business or in life really do we make a huge commitment based on a best guess? We hire someone based on one interview. We launch a whole product based on a hunch.
We renovate a kitchen based on a Pinterest board?
Exactly. And then we're shocked when the new fridge doesn't fit through the door.
We rely on fingers crossed way, way too often.
So that's the challenge for you, the listener, today. Where in your world, in your business or your life, are you relying on paper sketches and just hope? And is there a way to run a little simulation first? Maybe it's a spreadsheet model, maybe it's a small pilot program, or maybe it's an actual digital twin. Stop guessing and start simulating.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We'll catch you on the next one.